Now, on 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app, O'Connor and Company.
Good Monday morning to you. It's 5:06 here on O'Connor and Company. Thank you for tuning in and letting us ride shotgun with you wherever you're going, even if that means ride shotgun, in your house as you move from the bedroom to the bathroom to the kitchen or whatever your morning routine is. We're glad we're part of your routine. And we promise a show that will be nothing routine about it, I promise. At 6:35, Katie Gorka will join us, chairwoman of the Republican Party in Fairfax. We got a special election coming up for state senate. But first, a very special primary. 7:05, Joe DeGenova will be our guest. 7:35, Astra Nomani. 8:05, Kathy Shalega of Maryland, and a whole lot more in store. And we're very excited that Carrie Lukas, the president of Independent Women, is with us all morning long. Good morning, Carrie.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Well, of course, thank you for being here. I appreciate it. Usually you're here when there's a vacation time and, people are out sunning themselves. Usually it's Julie Gunlock out enjoying some sort of fabulous vacation with her husband and her boys. But we should let everybody know that that's not exactly the case right here.
Unfortunately, yep. I wish she was out sunning herself somewhere.
It's true. I was able to share on social media over the weekend, but I recognize that not everyone who listens is necessarily plugged in on Facebook and X, that our dear friend and our coworker and our sister, Julie, has suffered a health emergency last week. And the good news is that she is out of the woods. There's no danger. She's not going anywhere. She's on the road to recovery. And there's no suggestion that she won't have a full recovery from this, but we don't know how long that recovery is going to be necessarily. It could very well be a pretty long road here for therapies and such to get back right in the swing of things. And so for the next several weeks at least, we're going to have lots of our friends swinging in here on the days that Julie would normally be partnering up with me and waking you up and getting you where you need to go. And Carrie, you're, I think it's fair to say, her very best friend in the world. And you've actually been able to visit her and check her out. And I have been told that I am barred from seeing her until she can get her hair done or something.
Exactly.
She's so ridiculous.
Oh, you understand us women, right?
I suppose.
Yeah. No,
I think the only man who's seen her other than the doctor is Darren, her husband. That's it.
And the boys, of course.
And the boys,
yes. Of course. Yeah. So, and I can tell everybody that, she's the one thing that I think that's so frustrating to her is that she loves doing her show like this. So she hates that she's not on this morning. Just as I love being here, but I would prefer to be listening to Julie. But she's going to be just fine. It's a little bit heartbreaking to have her not able to do the things she loves like this.
Yeah, and the great work that she loves and has dedicated so much of her adult life to at Independent Women. And I want to get an update on what's going on with Independent Women. But first, listen, as you know, Julie and Darren have 3 teenage boys. Oldest is graduating high school this year. As you can imagine, that's more than enough to handle for 2 parents in a household. But now Darren is, for a short time at least, sort of handling everything by himself. It's a great moment for these boys to step up, and really what a great way to launch into manhood, to sort of not have mom do everything for them. And I'll be honest with you, I think she did way too much for those boys. She treated that house like they were guests on a bed and breakfast, for crying out loud.
That's certainly true, especially with the cooking, because Julie's such a fabulous cook.
Especially the cooking, yes. So there's going to be a lot of assistance needed and help needed, I think, for the time being here, as Darren sort of juggles his job, juggles taking care of Julie, and juggles getting these 3. And all 3 of them 2 of them go to one school, third goes to a third. So there's a lot of commuting. There's a lot of, the fact of the matter is, they could use your help if you're so inclined. And the family has set up a Give, Send, Go here. And I just want to throw it out there. If you can, if you're interested, if Julie's ever made you giggle or made you fired up and riled up, and you're touched by what she's been able to do with her great skills and her great intelligence and wit, I'd love for you to be able to just give $10 to the family. I mean, that's a meal for a couple of those kids. Well, the way they eat, maybe just one of them, but $10 each perhaps. But you go to GiveSendGo is the website. It's GiveSendGo.com, and then just / Julie Gunlock. It's that simple. GiveSendGo, Julie Gunlock. GiveSendGo, Julie Gunlock. And anything you can do, really, really. And by the way, if you just want to check in there and say that you're praying for Julie, I can tell you that when we were all kind of really terrified, at least I was scared to death about what I heard happened and this health emergency she experienced, we all started praying. All of that, because that's all we could do. That's all we could do. And we were all praying our brains out. And already those prayers have paid off. Already. We've got nothing but good news so far on the health front. So like I said, it's just really the recovery part now and getting her back up to speed, right?
Exactly. And, I've seen some of the notes on the GiveSendGo, and it's so, I know that as we're reading them to her and as Darren's reading them to her, it's going to make a ton of difference just hearing from folks. And so she feels like she's got so much to look forward to as she gets back on track.
You and me both. I was blown away reading, some of the lovely donations. You get a $10 anonymous, great. $5, $10, it's wonderful. And they say, I hear you on WMAL. Thanks for all the joy you bring. Get well soon. But then, we've had people donate $1,000.
Yep.
And they just know Julie from hearing us on the radio. But I got to tell you, whenever Julie and I and Patrice and I are able to get out there and do an event and we meet our listeners and they say, we feel like we know you. You do know us. You can't sort of put on a radio personality and then, take that off and be somebody else off the air. We're on the air too many hours, and we let too much of our real lives through and our real personalities through. So if you feel like you know Julie from hearing her interaction with me and with our guests and just hearing her opinions and her wit, you do know Julie. She is, it's like, I feel like you're a friend. She is your friend. She really is. And right now she's a friend who needs your help if you can. So please do so. Please do so. It's GiveSendGo.com /Julie Gunlock. And we'll give you updates as we go. And you can get some updates there, too. I think they're going to be giving some updates on her progress. And we'll talk a little bit later in the program about this as well. But, Carrie, God bless you and thank you for being there, because I know, right when everything was sort of up in the air and we didn't know what was happening and we just knew that she was in crisis, you were there. I think you were there, helping with the boys and helping with the meals on day one.
Yeah, well, I felt fortunate, obviously. I do. I truly love Julie. I've been friends with her for well over 20 years now. So my heart was really broken just from a personal standpoint. And I love those kids. I remember when they were all first born, and they're such great boys, as you can imagine. Julie's just a fabulous mom. So I've, it's been great to be there, and just so relieved that everything's going to be okay in the end.
Since you've known her so well, I've just always wanted to know, and I hope she's listening right now. Perhaps she can help too. Why is she such a pain in my butt? Can you help me with this? Do you know? Do you like this with you? Is it just me? What?
Julie tries to get the best out of all of us, Larry. That takes some work.
I see. So she's just determined that that's the best way to. All right, that's fair. That's
there you
fair.
go. Yeah, all exactly.
Right. Thank you all for your thoughts, your prayers especially, and all the love you're going to give to Julie. I know that you will. And she'll be back soon. That's all we can say. And thank God for that. It is not in the meantime, though, Carrie.
All right. Let's
have
go.
Some coffee.
We're going to have some fun.
Step up. We got plenty to talk about, including a remarkable, dramatic weekend at the Federal Reserve, including an unprecedented video delivered by the chairman, Mr. Powell. You can hear all about it coming up in a sec. First, though, it's 5:15.
WMAL, making sense of the news. Live from the Home Paramount Pest Control Studios. Home Paramount, the leader in pest control since 1939.
Carrie, the other reason we have to give updates on Julie's progress here and let everyone know what's going on in Julie's life is because in radio, if suddenly someone isn't on the air that has been on the air, the appropriate assumption is that they've been fired. And we just wanted to get out in front of that one.
Of course.
We come and go quickly in this business. We just do.
Well, certainly not Julie, though. I think we can all safely assume.
Even your most beloved will be fired at some point. I'm shocked that I have dodged the bullet up until now, but it'll happen someday, and I hope at least somebody mentions it after the fact. That's the weird thing about our business. It's like you try never to look in the rearview mirror, so nobody ever talks about the guy who was on, a couple of days ago, because it doesn't matter. Our listeners don't care. It's like, no, actually, the listeners do care.
Of course they do. Yeah.
They want to know what's going on. All right. So the listeners also care about drama within our federal government, and we're getting that over at the Fed. Officially on Friday now, federal prosecutors from the Justice Department opened up an investigation into the chairman and other members of the Federal Reserve. This has to do with what they claim, it appears, they claim to be misrepresentations about the renovations of that building to Congress and potentially some, let's just say, overspending on the project. You remember President Trump had been mentioning this all year long. They actually had that bizarre sort of impromptu press conference with hard hats on. There as Trump wanted to go over, it's like 2 blocks away from the White House, wanted to go over and sort of inspect the progress of the construction. And there have been major cost overruns. And there is a suggestion, again, no criminal charges, but there is an investigation now that Chairman Powell knew very well that there were cost overruns and that there was potentially some misspending of funds that had been appropriated, and when questioned about it, he misrepresented the facts to Congress. For his part, after the news broke on Friday, Chairman Powell put out a remarkable video message to the public from the Fed. Take a listen to this, and then we'll discuss. Cut 1.
Good evening. On Friday, the Department of Justice served the Federal Reserve with grand jury subpoenas, threatening a criminal indictment related to my testimony before the Senate Banking Committee last June. That testimony concerned in part a multi-year project to renovate historic Federal Reserve office buildings. I have deep respect for the rule of law and for accountability in our democracy. No one, certainly not the chair of the Federal Reserve, is above the law. But this unprecedented action should be seen in the broader context of the administration's threats and ongoing pressure. This new threat is not about my testimony last June or about the renovation of the Federal Reserve buildings. It is not about Congress's oversight role. The Fed, through testimony and other public disclosures, made every effort to keep Congress informed about the renovation project. Those are pretexts. The threat of criminal charges is a consequence of the Federal Reserve setting interest rates based on our best assessment of what will serve the public, rather than following the preferences of the president. This is about whether the Fed will be able to continue to set interest rates based on evidence and economic conditions, or whether instead monetary policy will be directed by political pressure or intimidation. I have served at the Federal Reserve under 4 administrations, Republicans and Democrats alike. In every case, I have carried out my duties without political fear or favor, focused solely on our mandate of price stability and maximum employment. Public service sometimes requires standing firm in the face of threats. I will continue to do the job the Senate confirmed me to do, with integrity and a commitment to serving the American people.
Now, Carrie Lukas, I'm confused about all of this because he says that he is all about transparency and accountability, and so then when the Justice Department says, well, we've got a problem with transparency and accountability here and crimes might have been committed, and they begin and initiate a grand jury process, he suddenly starts screaming that this is unprecedented and it's really just, retribution for not cutting the rates. Meanwhile, by the way, if that were the case, he would have done it, back in July or August, because September, they did cut the rate by 0.25%. October, they cut the rate again by 0.25%. December, the last time they had an opportunity, they did cut the rate by 0.25%. So the rates are coming down. Why would Trump, wreak retribution against Powell and the Fed if, in fact, the rates were coming down the way he wishes and the way Powell just suggested Trump wanted? You can't say I'm all about the rule of law and about transparency and accountability, and then the only way that the government does have accountability is to utilize the Justice Department if crimes have been committed, then start screaming, oh, this is just politics the second there's any sniff of accountability. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we need to, I feel like this is one where, I understand, obviously, the president has been so upfront, and we know that, one of the kind of wonderful things about President Trump is that, he's very frank, right, about who about his sentiments,
just where
about
he stands
people.
on certain things.
Exactly. So it's understandable, and I think that a lot of people say, obviously Trump has been incredibly frustrated with the Fed chair and has made he hasn't hidden that in any way. So this is one where we really do need to see the facts should come out, and obviously the whole administration has been focused on being good stewards of taxpayer money and figuring out where money has been wasted. And so, we've obviously watching the fraud investigations that are going on with welfare systems like we've seen in Minnesota. The whole Doge enterprise was based on trying to root out where money was being thrown away unnecessarily, and all the bureaucracy that was being so wasteful with taxpayer money. So it makes sense that this is a part of that. That if there has been, especially President Trump, of course, when it comes to buildings and to construction projects, this is something he knows intimately. So I do think that it's understandable that he's frustrated and Powell feels under attack, but he might have wanted to wait a little bit till the facts came out.
Yeah, and again, we're not rushing to judgment here, but if a grand jury is being impaneled, then the grand jury is being impaneled. And by the way, this Justice Department has impaneled grand juries against people like James Comey and others, and they have not returned indictments. So, gone are the days where you can indict a ham sandwich. It suggests to me that if there's no evidence there will be no indictments. Here's what I really don't understand about Jerome Powell's move with this video here, saying this is Trump. It's like he's protesting in a No Kings protest or something. That he's innocent, everyone's innocent, and Trump impaneling a grand jury is just lawfare and using the Justice Department as a political weapon. Because here's where it doesn't make sense, everybody. His term is up this May. He's not going to get renominated. He's already on the way out. Trump does not need an indictment of Jerome Powell to get Jerome Powell out. It's the worst kept secret in town. He's finished. Jerome Powell is already cleaning out his office. The only question in town is who's going to get nominated to replace him. I think it's going to be Kevin Hassett. So it makes no sense that Trump would sick the Justice Department on Jerome Powell to get rid of him when he's already got rid of him. He's done. He's got 4 months left.
Yep, exactly. So this is, it must be about something bigger and something that's more systemic. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll keep watching that space, Lord knows, and tongues will be wagging in town about this one today. It's 5:25. Coming up, we're not going anywhere. We got to tell you a great update about Oregon's dirty voter rolls and who's registered there and who shouldn't be registered there. It's going to shock you. Next.
WMAL-FM, Woodbridge, Washington, a Cumulus media station. Making sense of the news. News Talk 105.9. WMAL. News now. Now on 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app. O'Connor and Company.
5:37. Good morning. Thanks for tuning in here to O'Connor and Company. Get you going on this Monday. Coming up at 6:35, Katie Gorka, chairwoman of the Fairfax GOP. 7:05, Joe DeGeneva. 7:35, Oscar Nomani's been looking into who's funding all those spontaneous protests against ICE that you saw over the weekend. 8:05, Maryland Delegate Kathy Shalega, as the lawmakers are gathering in Annapolis. Hold on to your wallets, Maryland. 8:15, Lisa Daftari. She's a foreign policy expert and also an Iranian national. She is closely following the events in the Persian Street, the remarkable videos that we're seeing. It's Larry O'Connor, along with the president of Independent Women, Carrie Lukas. Carrie, I've been transfixed by these videos of what's going on in Iran all across the country. This really feels like the Berlin Wall coming down again.
I know, it's been so unbelievable, and I'm so grateful to have access to videos like that. Thanks to Starlink,
yes.
Which is really just kind of an amazing thing at how much of a difference technology is making.
Well, and if this goes the way it looks like it's headed, my goodness, and God, please pray for all of those incredibly brave people. They might at some point get rid of the mullahs, get rid of the authoritarians, and go back to having free and fair elections in Iran. Which, if that can happen in Iran, Carrie, it might even be able to happen in Oregon or
don't
California.
Go crazy here.
I know. I'm just wishful thinking here. Tom Fitton of Judicial Watch, you remember several years ago, he sued the state of California over the fact that California has dirty voter rolls. There are people who are on the voter rolls registered as active, eligible voters who have not lived in California for years. I'm one of them, by the way. I still get notifications from L.A. County about the upcoming election. It's like I haven't lived there in like 14 years, right? Or it's full of people who don't live at all. They're dead.
Yep.
And he had to sue the state of California and reached a settlement with them. And California still hasn't completed the task, but they're in the process of cleaning up all those voter rolls. This is important in a state that proactively mails ballots out to every voter who's registered, which means all of these live, legal, active ballots are just laying around in apartment buildings, nursing homes, whatever, and anyone can grab them, fill them out, send them in. And so now this is the announcement from Fitton Judicial Watch about Oregon. Take a listen to this.
Hey everyone, huge news. Judicial Watch lawsuits led to the cleanup of 4 million dirty names from the voting rolls in just the last 2 years or so. But there's more heavy lifting to be done for cleaner elections. That's why Judicial Watch just sued the state of Oregon to force it to finally clean up its voting rolls, which are a mess. Federal law requires states to take reasonable steps to clean up their voting rolls, and Oregon hasn't been doing that. In fact, our new lawsuit, just filed for and with the Constitution Party of Oregon and Oregon voters, details how 29 of Oregon's 36 counties removed few or no registrations as required by federal election law. Oregon and 35 of its counties had overall registration rates exceeding 100%. Frankly, Oregon has the highest known inactive registration rate of any state in the nation. Dirty voting rolls can mean dirty elections. Oregon, as I said, has some of the worst voting rolls in America and needs to clean them up as soon as possible. In the meantime, Judicial Watch has lawsuits to clean up voting rolls in California and in Illinois. Simply put, millions of ineligible names need to be removed from the voter rolls under federal law, and Judicial Watch has been, is, and will be in federal court making it happen.
Now, that was in June when the lawsuit was announced, Carrie. Just yesterday, Judicial Watch has announced that they have reached a settlement with the Oregon Secretary of State. He has confirmed that they will now begin the process of cleaning up 800,000 names from the voter rolls. This is a legal process that was paused in the state in 2017. And now, what happened in 2017? This is pre-COVID. You can't blame it on the pandemic. The only thing that happened in 2017 that would cause a Democrat-dominant state to stop cleaning up their voter rolls is the swearing in of Donald Trump as president. All right, I can't think of anything else. So they're now cleaning up 800,000, they said. Here's the thing. Mark Hemingway, who is from Oregon and a conservative commentator and journalist, he points this out. 800,000 represents 20% of the population of Oregon, not the registered voters. Assuming every single person in Oregon is registered to vote, the Secretary of State is now admitting that 20% of those registrations are garbage. This is astounding.
And Larry, this is the kind of thing that people, this should be bipartisan. I mean, my goodness, if you are actually a good Democrat who believes that your ideas will win out, you shouldn't want this. This is insane to have this many dirty ballots sort of like floating around to mess up an election. But the thing that's so frustrating is that we keep being told that this doesn't really happen, right? This is like, everyone says, no, there's no way. We've got the best, cleanest voting system ever. And then you see something like this jaw-dropping. 1 out of every 5 ballots that was sent out in Oregon was being sent to somebody who ought not have received it. It's
or it could be worse than that. But yes, at best, it's 1 out of 5.
Yeah.
Insanity.
That's, even in a state as blue as Oregon, that makes a difference in the outcome of elections. And we know Oregon may be an outlier in perhaps the scale, but this is a problem in a lot of places.
Yeah.
So this is thank heavens Judicial Watch is doing this work.
Yes, great job, Tom Fitton and Judicial Watch, judicialwatch.org. And let me just say, you just said this should be bipartisan. Here's the plain truth. The only reason why you wouldn't want this taken care of is if, A, you don't want the election to be free and fair and you want corrupt individuals to game the system and rig elections, or B, you don't want the American people to walk away from an election, win or lose, and at least be confident that the system is sound and that the election wasn't rigged or stolen. Those are the two reasons you do this. And Democrats don't want to do this. So you can reach your conclusion based on that. It's 5:44.
Mark Levin, weekdays 6 till 9 on 105.9 WMAL, making sense of the news.
Well, it was a big moment over the weekend for the PBS NewsHour, at least the weekend edition. Take a listen to how they signed off on Sunday. Cut 3, please.
A change for us here at PBS News.
Due to federal budget cuts, we've had to make the difficult decision to rework our staffing and programming. And this Sunday, our PBS News Weekend team will sign off the air.
Wait, I'm so confused. Wait, we'll break this down in a second. But by the way, like all of our friends in the media, they decided to take the valuable on-air time, the few precious seconds that they had left, to tell each other, and by extension their dwindling audience, how awesome they are. Here's cut 4.
PBS News Weekend anchor John Yang is here with us now. And John, we're going to miss you so much. Thank you. Doesn't even begin to cover it. You and the team have done incredible storytelling and covered major breaking news every weekend.
Yes, Mr. Yang. So just incredible breaking news and incredible work that just no one else can do. In fact, here's John Yang explaining all the incredible stuff that he's no longer going to be able to do. Cut 5.
This has been a lot of news on weekends. I can think back to the October 7th attacks in Israel, the first assassination attempt on President Trump, President Biden dropping out of the presidential race. And this is, as I like to call it, the small but mighty team that handled all these stories week in and week out. We're proud of the creativity, the dedication they brought to each and every segment.
Yeah, Carrie, I'm just devastated over this news because, think about that. The October 7th attacks, the assassination of Donald Trump, Joe Biden dropping out of the race. Where are we going to get this information now? I mean, no one. It's like you didn't hear it. Yeah. I only heard about that from PBS Weekend, didn't you?
What would we have done? I know.
Exactly.
Honestly, this is the first I've learned that PBS had a weekend news, so we're not going to miss much. And apparently not that many other people are. Otherwise, they'd stay in business. The market has a way of demonstrating such things and what the public values. And obviously, there weren't enough people who valued this.
They also showed, they want to show the small but mighty team. You just heard Mr. Yang talk about small but mighty team. So they panned out and they showed their producers, which looks like a Benetton ad, of course. The D is in DEI is definitely working overtime here. They have a dozen producers.
Oh my goodness.
For, what is this, a half-hour TV show? Is it maybe it's an hour, but a dozen producers. We have one superpowered producer here 4 hours every day for all of the news and all of the stories that we deliver. And I mean, I don't want to say we're fine because she could use some help, but we work in a budgetary environment where that's just not feasible. Maybe if they fired half their producers and got the job done with fewer people, they'd do it. But no, they have to go off the air now because of federal budget. Isn't that why? Could we hear that one more time? Cut 3. Why are you going to go off the air again, PBS?
A change for us here at PBS News.
Due to federal budget cuts.
Due to federal budget cuts. Yep. So, Carrie, this is where I'm confused. Remember when the federal budget was being threatened for PBS and NPR when they were saying, for decades now, PBS always jumps up and says, well, federal funding is a very small portion of our budget. right?
Exactly. Yep. Well, they always wanted to have it both ways because it was both, we don't really need this. We have so much support from our viewership and all of the donors we have. And
right.
But then they would say, oh, no, don't cut our budgets. So this was always just a real, it didn't make any sense. There was such cognitive dissonance over there. But
lying.
Yeah.
I think the word you're looking for is lying, Carrie.
There you go.
Yes.
That's a lot more accurate. That's a lot
Liars.
more accurate. Yep.
By the way, one other thing. You just mentioned all of the donors. So this decision to cut federal funding, finally, taxpayers, after over 50 years, nearly 60 years, finally, you aren't paying for PBS and for NPR. They can make it on their own, thank you very much. This was, 5 months ago? So for the last 5 months, all they've needed to do was raise more money. Just tell all of their loyal viewers, listen, guys, you read the news, you know what's happening. Throw us an extra few $5 here and there. And it's almost always rich, liberal, elitists who have Ivy League educations or postgraduate educations who watch PBS. They brag about how fancy and smart and intellectual their audience is. And yet all they had to do was say, hey, gang, if you want to keep us on the air, throw us an extra $5 or $10 a month, and that'll do the trick. And they couldn't do that. They couldn't. Nobody stepped up to help them out. So maybe they don't have a very big audience, or maybe their audience doesn't really care.
Yeah, doesn't care. That's exactly it. We were just talking earlier about media being a brutal business. It's hard to make it. There's a lot of competition out there, which is why PBS can't compete and why they deserve to go out of business. Just like there's a lot of people who go out of business in this industry who do some good work. So it's tough luck. Goodbye, PBS. Weekend.
Well, one other thing on this, they mentioned one of the three big breaking stories, which it's so ridiculous. It's like I learned about the assassination attempt on President Trump via Twitter, and I knew about it within 5 minutes of it happening, and I stayed right on Twitter on my phone and watched the videos as they came in and heard eyewitness reactions from people who were there, who were tweeting about it in real time. All right. What was and the other one was Biden dropping out of the race. It's funny. When Joe Biden dropped out of the race on a Sunday afternoon in July, I went live on my video streaming commentary show for Town Hall Media, and I had a huge audience that afternoon. I remember we delivered the news, we gave analysis, we got reactions in real time from our viewers. That's how things are done nowadays. And everyone was informed and everyone knew about it. No one had to go fix their UHF, antenna bunny ears to get the signal for the local PBS station so that you can see somebody sitting behind a desk in a studio telling you exactly what I told everybody on YouTube.
Exactly. Or Larry, they wouldn't have said the same things that you did. They would have been giving an absolute leftist, garbage, elitist, version of it. So thank heavens this is gone and we can just go straight to X and watch live or watch you on Town Hall rather than the garbage on PBS.
Yeah, great point. Yeah. When their audience was informed by Mr. Yang of that breaking story that Joe Biden was dropping out, sadly, their audience was shocked to learn that there was ever anything wrong with Joe Biden.
Exactly.
That was the first they heard that Joe Biden should drop out of the race. Great job, PBS. Usually I'm really sad if people in the media are losing their jobs, but these people have never really worked in the media. They've worked for a charity.
Yep.
So now it's time to work in the media. Good luck. It's 5:54.